Yo, what is up, everybody? My name is Jay, and whew, I just got done a few hours ago watching the newest Silent Hill movie, Return to Silent Hill, which is an adaptation of the second game, and I've got some things to say about it. Some things. Um, First and foremost, I'm just going to address the elephant. It is better than this. That's all I'm going to say in regards to this. Like, it's better than the Revelations. This is still ass. Don't let no one tell you otherwise. It's still shit. But that doesn't mean that Return to Silent Hill was just as good as this. And even if you have opinion about this movie, it's decent and that's fine. But Return to Silent Hill falls square in the middle between these two, and it leans more towards being here, but never as bad as this. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, I won't do a whole deep dive thing about this movie. Like, I'm not going to go over every single scene or anything like that. Rather, what I will be doing is talking about certain aspects about what I liked, what I didn't like, and spoilers. Like, I will spoil the shit out of this movie. So, if you're just slightly interested in watching it, which, funny enough, I do recommend you do, just so you can see how interesting this movie is, then go watch it. But yeah, I will be spoiling this movie. And I'll also be spoiling the original second game, possibly the third game, maybe even the first movie, possibly. But overall, I will spoil Silent Hill 2 and its movie adaptation, so you've been warned. But yeah, let's get right on into it. Okay, so before I talk about the things that I particularly did not like, I'm going to be talking about the few things that I actually did like that I feel work for the film, but just overall in general things I did like. For example, in terms of the overall presentation, like, did the film look good? All the lightings, the practical effects, like the CG, like, it was all good stuff. Nothing groundbreaking or realistically revolutionary. Um, the lying figure that was in the movie, definitely a lot more CG looking than how it originally looked in the first film. Excuse me. But the bobblehead nurses, those were all done by, like, actual, like, actresses who did, like, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, like, the monster designs, especially for Pyramid Head, top notch shit. Um, and then they added in a brand new monster, one that combines the aspects of a few enemies actually from the games, and even one from, like, Revelations. Probably the only compliment I'll give Revelations was that one mannequin spider-like monster that only appeared like one time in that entire film. The only good thing that came out of that movie was that particular creature. And in this movie, they introduced like a mannequin from Silent Hill 2 mixed with the spider mannequin thing from Revelations, and they combined it into something that looked realistically arachnid as fuck, but with like a nude body, basically. Uh, did not need to see spider cheeks like that, but I mean, it's still, but it's still pretty fucking, like, oh goddamn, that's actually really fucking creepy. So like, you know, props to that, honestly. Um, what else? What else? One thing narrative wise that I thought was pretty interesting was was the fact that in this movie James is actually like a patient to a psychologist, psychiatrist. Yeah. So from a narrative perspective, it could realistically play more into like, oh, is this whole thing like, is it really happening? Is it real? The unreliable narrator kind of route. Like, I feel like the movie would have been better if they realistically went down that kind of route. And I feel like it would have been better than like, because there's a theory, especially perpetuated in by the remake, that oh the events are just happening all in his head and nothing is real and all that kind of shit. And that's an interesting theory, and I feel like that the movie could have explored it, especially with the confirmation that he is a patient. And even the freaking his own doctor flat out says that oh after Mary's death he just completely let go of everything. So it could really play into that kind of it could have really played into that kind of like narrative, especially with what happens in the ending, which I will get to. But nah, I feel like this iteration of James actually being confirmed as like a patient because of his like mental instability could have played a much bigger role into the narrative, but unfortunately it did it. But it's a good aspect of the film that I think should have been like more of like a thing in the film. Um Also, I do kind of like how this iteration of James, because of what, happened, he's more he's more aggressive, you know what I mean? Like it's a hint of like obviously he's more emotional in this iteration than he is in the original game and even in like the remake. And you can make an argument about whether that's actually a good thing or a bad thing, but I think for this overall iteration, him being more reactive and him being just overall angry, basically, because of his desire to see Mary and everything that's going on around him, I think it works for the film to have him be emotional and angry in a sense. And yeah, I feel like this iteration of James was interesting, but it only works for the film, in my opinion. But nah, I wish the film had pushed more emphasis on the fact that he is mentally unwell. And I wish that there could have actually been like maybe like something more to it. But nah, in terms of the overall like how the film looks, how the film sounds, and I mean the actors, I'll say this, the actors did their part. I'm not gonna say any of them were like, oh, stand out breaking roles, like the standout character that's like the star or anything like that. Like they did all right. They did their best. Like, what about the writing? Is the writing good? I mean, it's not a one for one from the game. Like, it's overall just average, like at its best, I guess. Sadly, no pizza lines or anything like that, nothing like that. But overall, it's like, just from how the film presents itself, it's good stuff. So it has that going for it. But yeah, it's time to get into the things that I didn't like. And this is definitely going to be huge spoiler territory. So yeah, you've been warned. Okay, so now for the parts that I didn't particularly like about the film. Uh, quite a bit to go here, but I'll try again. Won't be going through every minute detail, but just through the overall rough bits. But let's just get to it. I noticed that in terms of the overall, what I would call narrative feeling, in comparison to the second game and this movie, it never matched it. It didn't stick close to what the original feeling of the narrative was in the second game was. This one, it leaned more towards just not psychological, like the grief and trauma of the individual per se, but more towards like it's really hard to describe it, but it just didn't stick. Like, I don't want to try to say it didn't try to replicate it, it just didn't feel like it was overall the same in terms of how it was meant to be represented or how it was supposed to be felt. A good God damn it, what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? A good portion of that narrative feeling that was in this film could be attributed to the fact that it tried to tie into the cult plot, which was never a thing in the second game. But oh, lo and behold, Silent Hill is all about cult bullshit for the most part, so we gotta somehow tie it into cult stuff, because that's what I did in the first movie, when you should have just been sticking close to the personal, psychological introspective of, like, the actual game itself. But no, instead, you have some contrived plot thread about, oh, cult, rather than actually sticking with the narrative of the game. And speaking of cult, making Mary not only a member of the cult, but the daughter of the dude who effectively founded the cult, or like the town, I forgot honestly, but she was basically the daughter of like some cult leader, which was a choice. And it's revealed that her sickness came from the fact that her father and the cult were basically poisoning her for years. So, I mean, like, I don't know if that realistically added anything to the narrative other than the cults are assholes, which, yeah, they are in the games and they are in the movies, but it's like, I just don't know why the fuck the cult had to be a part of this movie in the first place. It just realistically just made no sense to me. Speaking of things not making any sense, Eddie, Angela, and Laura, they, oh my god. Basically, those three characters were relegated to, I don't want to say stereotypes, because that's not, like, caricatures, maybe? Yeah, caricatures. But at least a caricature has, like, some kind of, like, meaning to a greater extent. What do I mean exactly? Eddie's in the film for like less than 5 minutes. He's not even accused of murdering anyone. In fact, he doesn't even like get killed by James. No, instead, um, he beats the shit out of James. Well, not really the shit, but he beats him up and then just fucks off, and that's it. Like, you see him for not even 5 minutes, and he says, like, peace out, fuck off. Angela, like, oh my god. The tragedy of Angela in the original game was not translated into the movie. Like, it's hinted, and yes, you do see the abstract daddy, which I'll get to here in a moment, but it doesn't amount to anything at all. And, like, and apparently, like, I didn't really catch on to this, so I looked it up, and apparently she and Laura are apparently, like, figments of James's, like, imagination or some shit that are tied to Mary. So, if that's the case, what the fuck is the abstract daddy there for? Like, if she's just a figment of his imagination, at least in this interpretation? And, God, like, Laura, like, what the fuck? It's funny that Laura in the movie is the same Laura from the remake, which is cool, but Laura wasn't anything in the movie. Like, she was just some fucking creepy-ass spooky kid who was effectively, like, taunting James about some weird shit. Like, it's like, this isn't the Laura that was, like, friends with Mary or was potentially, a wanted to be adopted by Mary. Like, this is, like, completely different character altogether. So it's like, why the fuck are these characters from these games in this movie if they're not gonna, like, fill their roles from what they were in the original game, right? Speaking of things from the games, there were certain things that were adapted into the movie, and they were not accurate as fuck. Goddamn, what's a good scene? So, like, we got the apartments, we got the hospital, and we got the Lakeview Hotel. But, and I get that from a movie-going perspective, we can't be in all three locations, for over an hour, and, like, that's fine. But it's like, you just kind of rush through, like, a good chunk of these fucking areas, and it's like, I just don't know. Also, goddamn, fucking, the things that weren't adapted, which could have been interesting as fuck, honestly. Like, the prison, like the historical society and the prison, not in the movie. So we don't get that awesome shot of freaking, Mary or Maria talking to James in the jail cell and all that shit. Not in the movie. Oh man. Goddamn, speaking of characters that were not adapted properly, I'll get to her in a quick minute. But there were things that were adapted. They just weren't properly adapted. And then there were things that could have been interesting to see on the big screen, not in the movie, period. Which is like, what the fuck? Yeah, Maria and Pyramid Head. Both of those characters actually serve a purpose within the confines of the narrative of Silent Hill 2. And Pyramid Head in this movie has less screen time than Eddie. And, well, roughly the same screen time as Eddie. And that's actually fucking kind of crazy, honestly. Which is funny because Pyramid Head actually appeared in the first Silent Hill film, which is based off the first game. But he made his actual debut in the second game. But funny enough, he contributed more to the mythos in the first film than he does in this movie, which is ironic considering where his fucking origin comes from. And Maria, like, dude, it took until maybe almost 5 minutes or maybe 10 or so before they finally acknowledged the fact that, you look like my dead girlfriend. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? And, credit where credit's due, she does look the part. Like, she actually looks more faithfully accurate to video game Maria than the remake one. But personality-wise, like, she doesn't have that flirtatious, promiscuous kind of attitude like, OG Maria did. Which completely undermines whole reason of existence in the first place. So it's like, why the fuck is she there if she's not going to fulfill her specific role? And how she dies is so fucking funny. I was telling a friend about this. Basically, later on in the movie, James, after like having gone through some trippy fucking shit, he's walking down a hallway full of like paintings of like Mary, and Maria is like convincing him, not to go down this hallway, just leave town with her and all that shit. And James, in his all pissed off voice, is all like, "Mary's not dead to me." And like, and I don't know what the fuck he does exactly, but like, he just holds on to his head, or is it his ears and shit? And the whole screen starts shaking, and out of nowhere, fucking Pyramid Head just appears behind Maria and just fucking murders her and some shit. My fucking friend, I'm telling that to him. He's like, "Oh, so Pyramid Head is just a stand?" That shit made me laugh so much, man. It's so fucking stupid how almost accurate it is. Oh, oh man. Oh, Easter eggs. There's some Easter eggs in this movie, some that I caught on to, maybe others that people be more knowledgeable about. But one of the big ones, obviously I mentioned earlier, was the Abstract Daddy, which is the boss you fight later on in the game, which is a manifestation of Angela's trauma that involves her father and brother, assaulting her. And it's in the movie for like less than a minute. Like, hell, the fucking room with the pistons pumping out of the fleshy walls, like, that's in there too, and then it's gone. It's like, what the fuck, right? Like, why are you gonna have like such a pivotal moment in the game just be showing up for fan service like that? Like, it's just fucking stupid. And obviously, the musical cues, which I'm going to consider Easter eggs, because, they're in the movie, but it's like, okay, well, most of these were in the first movie anyway, so, like, what the fuck? Fucking, it's even better, because, like, a song in the credits is literally a fucking song from Silent Hill 3, but not a song from Silent Hill 2. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's just... But yeah, the moments where it's like fan service, like you have Eddie, Laura, fucking like Eddie, especially Pyramid Head, Abstract Daddy, you have these things from the game adapted merely for the fans, but there's no substance. And as cool as it is to see, like, oh, that's a reference, I love that, like, I'd rather there be, like, something behind it other than just, eye candy. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's okay, but for the most part, it's like, I'd rather, Abstract Daddy actually contribute somewhat to the plot rather than just be there for less than 10 seconds. Like, and last but not least, fucking the whole, oh, damn, hold up. the whole deal about fucking Laura and Angela, you know, being figments of imagination from James or whatever the fuck. Yeah, it turns out Mary's full name in the movie, at least, is Mary Angela Laura Crane. Like what the like it's so left field. Like it's so left field and out of nowhere. It's just like, okay, like what does that add? What do you mean? Okay, so like what does that add? What does that change? What does that mean? Like it's just so stupid. Like you turn these two characters and you basically just say like, oh yeah, they don't exist and they're just, you know, the middle names of Mary. Like why? Like what the fuck? Why? And then the ending. Oh boy, the ending. Goddamn. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I actually got whiplash from this because it's like, oh, they're going with this ending? And then, I'm just gonna say it, they completely shat on it. So, what they originally did was that it looked like it was setting itself up to be the in-water ending. You know, the one where he drives into the lake with Mary's corpse and, you know, he just drowns and... excuse me. And yeah, he does that in the movie, giving a big speech about how, like, oh, this time, no matter what happens to us, I won't let go. As he's in the fucking water holding his dead girlfriend's hand. Oh, by the way, Mary and James are not married. They're just dating, which... okay. That's such a weird change. They can't be married. Okay, fine, but whatever. But anyway, no, it's full on. They are in the water, and then, oh, well, would you look at that? It teleports back to, like, the beginning of the movie, where James first meets Mary, and it's basically just, it's all a dream. It was literally just a dream fucking type of ending, where... And instead of going to Silent Hill with Mary, he decides to take Mary back to his town or some shit. But, like, nah, it, like, I saw that ending and I literally just started laughing because of just how out of nowhere that came. Because it's like, what the fuck? So, it amounts to fucking nothing. And this is one of the things I was talking about earlier. The narrative feeling. Because... no matter what ending you got in Silent Hill 2, James always killed his wife. Which was like a contributing factor to the narrative. Is that, yeah, James's wife is dead. And depending on what ending you got, you know, your whole interpretation of how James as a character would change. And the whole situation as a whole. In this movie, oh yeah, no, it was just, you know, like... a dream, basically. Like, it's just so weird. Like, funny enough, I saw some people say how, oh, it's like the Leave ending. And it's like, I think it's more like that ending that's in the remake where he goes in the videotape with Mary. Like, I don't know. Like, I just felt like that of all the endings they could have gone with... I think In Water would have been okay for this film, honestly. Because in this iteration, as I mentioned earlier, James is angry. And he's so disconnected that I think suicide would have been like the natural way for him to go. At least in this iteration. But to completely flip the script and just be like, oh yeah, it's all just a dream. But... he's aware of what it all was, so it's like a Final Destination premonition. It just completely, in my opinion, it just ruins the immersion. Like, it just takes away, like, any kind of, like, psychological aspect from the film. And that whole trope that, oh, it's all a dream kind of shit, it can work. But this is one of those times... don't move. This is one of those times where it just absolutely does not work. And what's funny is that it could have worked because James actually, being a patient to a psychiatrist, it could have played into, like, is this all just in his head kind of shit? And if the film had pushed more onto that kind of narrative, that would have made the movie so much more interesting, but it kind of doesn't. It makes mention to the fact that, he's disconnected, but it doesn't really do anything, really. But overall, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the film. I just wish that for the most part, it didn't involve itself at least heavily with the whole cult bullshit, and it didn't have that dumb fuck ass ending. And honestly, the movie's runtime could have been a little longer to maybe flesh out some stuff that happens in the film, like more interactions with Maria, maybe even like some like a scene where Eddie actually does go fucking crazy and James fucking murders him or some shit. Like, um, like, like, God, dude. I just want to know what the fuck happened to the director, between the time he directed the first film and now, because he not only dropped the ball, he fucking, like, didn't even try to catch it the second time. I just don't even know how. The first film is a hidden gem. Genuinely an enjoyable film, but this one, I don't think it's gonna have, like, in a few years, people will look back and say, it's actually a lot better than people gave it. Like, no, I genuinely don't see it. Like, it's an interesting interpretation in its own right, but it ultimately, it's ass, but nowhere near as bad as Revelations, but it's still kind of ass. And I think that kind of makes me sad, but I mean, at least I got to experience it alongside the original Silent Hill 2 and the remake, so. And obviously, there's stuff that's like, more into the film itself that I didn't go over, but I'm not that kind of YouTuber that does in depth shit like that. At least, maybe not yet, but for right now, I just wanted to kind of like, I saw this movie, some stuff I liked, a lot of stuff I didn't like, felt like making a video about it, and that's exactly what I did. So, I would say go watch it, just so y'all can see, how interesting the movie is for yourself. And until then, see you next time, and have a good one.